Hello, everyone. My name is Bren.
Hello, my name's Jem, and this is the Trunk2Tale Podcast. Today we're going to talk about how we came up with the name Trunk2Tale, but that's not where we started. We started with a completely different name because of how the whole thing got off the ground in the first place. So, Bren, what was it that you were trying to do when we first started this business? What were you trying to do?
So, I was conscious when my mother was in a nursing home, which she went into a nursing home in 2016, that no one in the care home knew about her earlier life. So, effectively for them, that was like ground zero, that was day zero. Her life began on the day she entered the care home. They knew nothing about her story, about the fact she had 5 children, about the kind of music that she liked, the fact that she'd lived in Ireland for over 50 years of her life, but lived in the UK for 30 years of her life, and so on. So I thought they don't know anything about her story. So that was the inspiration for the idea of a digital product service where we could record her story, which of course then needed a name. And the first name that I came up with was Storeasy. It combined, not that anybody looking at that name would think about these things, but it combined the idea of story and storage. And when I went to register it with Companies House, there was actually a company already who'd registered the name Storeasy, which was a company that provided storage facilities for people. But we were in a different area, so Storeasy was there, storeasy.com.
Yeah.
But that was just the beginning. And in the end, and I can't remember why, maybe you know the reason why we never used that name.
Well, what was the just to say, I must admit, when I hear it, I hear the word easy. So it makes me think, oh, I'm going to store it and it's going to be easy and it's going to be a story. So for me, it's actually not.
Which is a correct interpretation.
Which is a correct. And actually,
so you mean we should be using it?
Well, if you think about what we originally tried to do, what your original idea was to make this beautiful book. I mean, it was like this page turning thing that the story of the life would be all mapped out. And then what the idea was on a tablet, somebody would tap it and the page would turn, like a really nicely folding, turning page. Like it was going to be beautiful. And then you were going to have the next page and there'd be maybe some images of, photographs and whatever. And actually there is a company in Oldham who do life stories. And I think they make a physical thing similar to the sort of thing you're talking about. I'd really love to get them on here, to be honest.
Storeasy, that was the name that was established
initially. Okay, so we do have a sort
and yes, of. You're right. I did have in mind this kind of this page-turning book that would appear on your phone or your computer, and you'd touch it and it would turn a page, and there would be images and there would be stories, from the person's life, from my mum's life, related to those images, and maybe there'd be somehow a video included, so you got her singing a song or her favorite. So that was the kind of, that was the big idealistic picture.
Yeah.
In the beginning. But for some reason, despite the fact that you now like that name and think we should be using it, we didn't use that. We didn't use that name. So I can't for the life of me recall. Unlike elephants, I do forget, and I can't for the life of me recall why we didn't use it. But we moved on to brainstorming, and initially we came up with a lot of names around the idea of like newspapers. I mean, I think one example of the names was the Heyday Times, thinking of people back in their heyday. There was the Life Gazette. And then at some point, and I think you were actually the first person to talk about elephants. What do we all know about elephants?
Well, I think the first thing, as you say, when you say we might get on to who we really means. But, Yeah, elephants never
Yeah.
forget. That's and Dumbo with big ears. I mean, there's the Dumbo with big ears. Elephants never forget. What other elephants do I know? A little bit about elephants in Tarzan. There used to be, there was a famous elephant,
There
Tantar or something
was.
in Tarzan.
There was a
Um,
baby elephant.
and
I can't remember that name. And of course, you haven't mentioned the most famous elephant, or one of the most famous elephants in the UK, which is Nelly.
yeah. Is that a British song, Nelly the
Don't know.
Elephant?
Don't know. I
I
don't know whether it is, but you're right. Mentioning British, I'd almost go so far as to say the only thing that all British people know is that elephants never forget. I'm not sure there's another single sentence that every British person would know. But everyone I've said, what do we know about elephants? They never forget.
Yeah.
And of course, people get dementia, they forget. And so that started us thinking about a different name. And when I briefed a designer to come up with a logo, he was very excited about this idea of elephants. Oh, elephants! He could probably picture all sorts of things in his mind. He said that's a great image, a great icon to work with. And amongst the names we came up with was the names that he liked, which I proposed to him was Elephantus, I think it was spelled ELLYFANTUS, because of course, if you're going to have a digital product, it mustn't bear any relation to a real word. And Trunk2Tales.
Trunk2Tales.
Tales spelled TALES. But those domain names were gone.
Oh, Elephantus. You know what? I don't remember that. I
Sounds
don't
like a
remember that at
disease,
all.
doesn't
Thank
it?
God. Well,
It is
it makes me think. It makes me think of Romans, and
Yes.
it makes me think of Hannibal coming across the Alps on the
Yes.
elephants.
Yes.
And actually,
A
just
Roman
as I was
elephant.
saying, one of the funniest things, one of the funniest Punch cartoons I ever saw was there's a bunch of people coming across the Alps, but they're in kangaroos' pouches, and the
Right.
thing at the bottom was called Hannibal's First Attempt. And I just thought there's some
fantastic.
twisted brains out there who
Came up
think
with
of
Yes.
these things. But anyway,
Yes.
Elephantus is a horrible name, isn't it? No,
Well, it
horrible.
was. Thank you for that. And obviously, we I don't know why the designer liked it. So Trunk2Tales became a serious notion, but that didn't exist. And then somehow that evolved into Trunk2Tale, which of course again combined the Storeasy elements of storage, trunk. It's the number 2, of course. It's not the word 2. It's not TO, it's number 2. And tail was spelled TALE rather than TAIL. And so there you've got your storage and your story, as we had with Storeasy. So we came back to Storeasy via a different route.
But still,
and that was the name. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the elephant is a beautiful creature.
Well, everybody loves an elephant, as far as I know. So when we went to Bali, the highlight of my 60th birthday was there. The highlight of the whole thing was feeding elephants, and
right.
touching an elephant's trunk and having some sort of communication with this elephant. And to me, it's just like, wow, who knows what's going on in the brain of another species, but it felt somehow as though me and the elephant had found common cause. And
that's good. I mean, I don't want to sort of spoil the image, but I will.
But you're going to, aren't you?
But I have met people abroad for whom elephants are, they're encroaching. The elephants and the humans are encroaching on one another's environments. So actually, for some of the people I met, I mean, I remember sitting in a cafe one morning and their neighbour's garden had been destroyed by an elephant the night before. So for them, it was like, steer clear of the elephants.
Do you know what,
Whereas obviously for you, kiss an elephant is, it's a different sort of. But
I
you know, that's
presume
nature, isn't
you
it? It's,
broadly have I presume you broadly have warm feelings towards
very.
no, not elephants. I'm moving on from the elephant for a
Sorry.
second
Right.
to mankind in general. You have a warm feeling towards mankind.
So yeah, so that's how we got to Trunk2Tale.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
no one, amazingly, no other digital company had registered Trunk2Tale. How surprising!
how surprising. Well, that's why
Yes,
we're the innovators, Bren.
exactly,
That's right. So
exactly.
one of the nice things about the elephants as well is that there's this sort of looking after
Mm.
that they do for their herd. That's what they call. Aren't they a herd? They're not a flock of elephants, are they? They're a herd of elephants.
No, the collective noun is, you're correct
Yeah, we
there.
can get
It's
on
the
to
herd.
other
Yeah,
funny collective nouns that are different
we
thing.
could.
We'll
Yeah.
get. Katie will
What's
start put up a little sign saying, "Get back to the point." If we start talking about.
Katie is our producer, keeping us at it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah.
But it's like the little elephants when they're born. I saw fantastic videos. Apparently, they don't know what their trunk is for. So
Right.
for the first, I don't know how long it takes them, but they whirl their trunks around thinking, what the hell's this thing on the end of my head? They
Which, to
have
be
no
honest,
idea.
that makes sense to me that they wouldn't know what that was for.
That's right. Well, why would they? But
Yeah, why
so
would they? Yeah.
they slowly learn how to use their trunk. But watching the way the herd guards the baby elephant is sort of, when we're thinking about what we're trying to do for people with dementia, we got that same herd
It's true.
mentality.
You're right. Protection,
Protection of
security, and
that's
care
right.
of the person at the centre of the circle. Yeah, I mean that's what we're trying to do is connect families and carers with a loved one, and they are the village. Isn't that right?
It takes a village to raise a child. That's
or
right.
in this case, a village to. I mean, if you look at someone in hospital, it takes a whole industry to help someone get better. You know.
But that's one of the sort of things as you get older. It's like Shakespeare's Seven Ages of Man or whatever it's called. You start to move backwards, don't you?
Correct,
so we start to revert to childhood as we get older and older, and it's the same feeling of we gather around the young ones. We should be gathering around the old ones in the same way. Well, I'm hoping people will gather around me because I don't want to be left. You know what I mean?
You do feel on the whole that, understandably perhaps, that babies and children elicit a stronger sense of a desire to care for them than, say, the old, and that perhaps there's greater concern about maybe children's rights than old people's rights. Not that we want to get political here today, but
no. Well,
it's
interesting. The reflection of that is in talking about other sorts of technology which are looking after folk. There's this class dojo thing which parents have at schools, and they will get an alert about their child on this class dojo, and that's really used everywhere. There's no comparative thing as far as I know, except what we're trying to do, which is for people as they grow older, because I mean, there's this, maybe it's because we don't feel like we have to protect each other so much, but we're all kids at heart, aren't we? I mean, we all need looking after in some way, shape or form, and it's nice to know that people know enough about us to do the looking after.
So, I mean, what we're talking about is something very specific around a particular person that, say, you really care about. I mean, I know your mum is, you're currently trying to help her out a lot with her care, and that that's that idea, isn't it? That notion that you talked about the elephant caring for their child. It's the whole village. It's a number of people.
That's right.
That's how people can connect through our app. It's collaborative.
That's right, and it seems important that everybody knows what everybody knows. Do you know what I mean? It's like half of the problem comes from, well, I thought you'd know about that, or I thought so this sort of more explicit idea of having information about people appropriately shared. I mean, I think that's one of the other challenges is how can you make sure that the right people know the right things because what you don't want is for the information to get into the wrong hands.
No, well, you were heavily involved, weren't you, in the second iteration of the app, and you have included security settings there to make sure that only the people that the family administrator wants to have the information can have the information.
That's right. I mean, I think the strange thing for me about the whole process was we never thought about it. We never thought
in the
about
beginning.
And shame on us.
We were consumed by the excitement of the story and an elephant, and
I know.
We were doing. Let's face it, we'd never invented or created. Inventions is too strong a word. We'd never created a digital product ourselves before, and so there's a lot of learning, exploration, naivety, innocence, and not everything that should be there was there.
That's right, and I think it's back to you. The devil really is in the detail of doing anything like this, and it's you're tripped up by things that you wouldn't imagine were a problem. So now thinking forward, a lot of the question is how will this be actually implemented? And do you remember when we went to the dementia choir?
I do.
And one of the first questions that guy who had I'm just trying to remember which sort of dementia he had, but it wasn't Alzheimer's and it wasn't vascular dementia. He had something else. Had some of the, because there's like 100 plus.
Yeah, there's like Lewy disease
body
and
prefrontal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, prefrontal.
Yeah. We need to get somebody on to give us a little a run through of
it's a feature
of some
in
of this
sometimes.
because it's we just think Alzheimer's. But that guy said, well, I'm not very good at typing. Can I talk to this app? And of course we went, well, no.
no,
and immediately, right, yeah. And for my mum, accessibility means something completely different to what it means to me. She really needs something where she can talk to whatever it is that she's working with, because that's her most effective form of communication. Typing, not so much. And for people with dementia, if they're going to use a thing like the sorts of things that we would make, there's got to be plenty of inbuilt reminder in how to use that thing, or else they won't be able to use it. And so we got this sort of new challenge as we try to move forward, is that we start off with what the idea is, but as soon as you really start talking to people for whom you're trying to help, you realize, there's plenty of other challenges, not just this. So it's like we just we're like that baby elephant, aren't we, with its trunk swinging around, thinking, oh, we've got this thing, but what are we really trying to do? And I keep coming back to this thing is how are people going to use stuff?
Yeah, I mean, in that sense, we're the baby elephant. We're learning about the world as we evolve.
That's right. That's right.
And of course, for that gentleman who couldn't type and wanted to use his voice to relate to the app, over time, his own powers of speech will begin to decline, which would present a further problem. And eventually, let's be honest, he won't be able to use it. And it could well be the case that most of the people who will use what we've developed are not the people, in a sense that it's for. It's not the people with dementia or Alzheimer's who will directly use it, but it's their loved ones and their carers, both for themselves and to help the person with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah, that's right. A sort of tool. I mean, it's I don't know what one would use as a comparison, but it's like somebody with a wheelchair, they can't themselves propel. It will help.
Yes,
it will help them. And one of the things, the power of we'll go back to your mum and Ave Maria, but if she was feeling somehow, that the feeling of disconnection from the world around it, try and find something to reconnect, and something with some familiarity. And that song, immediately connects her to something which makes her feel safe.
At the very least, first of all, it's a distraction from whatever. And I guess if she's distracted from her anxiety, then she's immediately going to feel more peaceful. So yeah, if you could just, press ping and play that song, and she'll join in, because of course she'll remember the words to those songs, even though she may not remember my brother's name.
That's right.
If she hasn't seen him for a long time, but she will remember that music that she heard as a child.
Well, as I say, it's like going back to childhood, and slowly the memories are being deleted backwards in history, and that your children, your own children, came after that. So
correct. I think there is actually a nursing home. I think it's in Holland, which is designed in the style of a 1950s house, and all the sort of images around it, the paintings and so on, are all from the past. Apparently, it's very reassuring. It's an interesting idea.
What would those things be for us?
Well, for us,
Athena posters from the 1970s.
Born in the 1960s.
The 1960s, that's right.
1960s, yeah. It'd be, I don't know. Charlie's Angels on the TV. I don't know what you watched as a child. Thunderbirds. I mean, yeah, this sort of stuff would be. As someone who's not nostalgic, I find that a scary thought. But there you go. Might come to that.
But we'll have to have a conversation at some point about the stuff from our childhood which has actually somehow culturally persisted. Sorry, Katie, I am. So like going to a wedding recently, and it's amazing how music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s is still extremely popular with kids today, compared to music of the 30s, 40s, and 50s would have been for us. We didn't want to listen to, I don't know who it would have been, because we don't know. We might have listened to a bit from the 50s, but we weren't listening to A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square, even though it's a very pretty song. So
yes, I mean, that was a 1930s, 40s song.
Yeah, that's
1941, right. 1941 was it recorded? And then the brass band music. Who was it? Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller.
We weren't listening to Glenn Miller. Yeah.
Yeah, the big bands stuff. Yeah, we didn't listen to that.
Yeah. Correct. That's something to do with the reason your children listen to the 60s, 70s is something to do with you.
Do you think?
Is it not? I think it's definitely to do with their parents. Yes. That's
maybe.
but that's a whole other subject.
That's a whole other subject.
Yeah.
But back to
why we're here.
Yeah, that's right. Back to these stories, because I think one of the topics I'm really interested in is, but we were talking a bit about identity, and identity seems to me to be somehow the totality of the stories that we tell about ourselves. Right, I've got all these internalized stories about who I am. And weirdly, the older I got, sometimes I'm not sure if I'm telling a story about, I'm remembering something about me or about somebody else. When I was younger, I didn't used to get so confused about that. But now I think, did that happen to me or one of my brothers? I think it happened to me. I think this is me, but it might be him. But it's somehow...
certainly as people get dementia. I mean, my mother believes she met the Queen. I mean, I probably shouldn't say she never met the Queen, but I'd be 99% certain that she never met the Queen. I do remember that the Queen's car came within about 50 meters of our house, and she stayed in the car. So it's possible that she's recalling the fact that the Queen came to town to open the hospital, that the car went past the road at some point, and she's now taken that on a bit, and she actually met the Queen. But she didn't meet the Queen.
But there's also my friend Carl, his mum has Alzheimer's. Carl will come on and talk to us at some point, but his mum talks to the television, so it could be that they had a conversation with the Queen on the telly, and that would have been a meeting with the Queen. And so that it's sort of fascinating, because when you say my mum didn't meet the Queen.
No, she didn't meet the Queen. I mean,
I beg to
never,
differ.
of
She did
course,
meet the Queen.
I never for a moment challenged her notion that she met the Queen. I absolutely agreed with her that she did.
Yeah, but
If she told me she met the Queen,
she met the
yeah,
Queen.
she
So,
met the Queen,
for
but she
me,
didn't.
but I remember when I the first time I properly interacted with somebody who had dementia was when I was at university. I went to Good Hope Hospital in Sutton Coldfield,
Right.
and I volunteered on a ward there, and I met people who had dementia. I didn't know what it was. The people I was meeting, but the people on was said, just talk to them, please. And so I was just talking to people, and we went and I sat in the day room with this woman, and she was explaining to me that we were in a tea shop down on the front of Brighton, and that we were having a cup of tea and we were having some cake. And I know you might, I mean, I'm a little bit more of a sort of, what's the word? I'm a fan of the Matrix and these sorts of things. I think it's proper to sort of not say that she wasn't where she was. I didn't think so, but what do I know? I'm just me inside my head. I'm susceptible to all the same things about reality. I've constructed my reality as I've constructed my reality. That's all I can say. So it's, and as you say, at no point did you try to disabuse your mum of the idea that was anything else. And why would you? Because that is their reality. Why would I try to break somebody else's reality? It seems mad to try to do that.
I mean, yeah, for me, the reason for not trying to challenge her reality is about her peace of mind. I've come across it regularly where people do say, no, mum, no, dad, we didn't do it like that. We didn't do that. You did this or blah, blah, blah.
Never goes well, does it?
From my perspective, that isn't the way to approach, to relate to someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's. But, that was just the way. I never questioned a single thing.
Yeah, but
if I was asked the question 100 times, I gave the same answer 100 times.
But if we go back and recount things that have happened in our lives, and there might be things that we can't agree on. We had a chat, and I said it went like this, and you said it went like that. What's the value then of this idea of reality when we can't agree between ourselves?
Of course, it does matter in a court of law. There are places where it really does matter, but and that's why, it's being a witness is a terrible thing. But
it matters.
But of course, an elephant. An elephant wouldn't have a problem in a court of law.
and why would that be, Bren?
Because they never forget.
They never forget.
Trunk2Tale will never forget.
That's right. And as we complete our conversation, that idea, the totem of the elephant being this thing that doesn't forget, and being this group that collects around whatever it is that they're trying to protect, we got to remain hopeful about that.
Absolutely. I mean, they're a beautiful creature, and who doesn't love an elephant?
Who doesn't love an elephant? Anyway, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me and from Trunk2Tale.